Fresh out the oven, it's Cinema Bums. I'm Emmett.
And I'm Wade.
Cinema Bums is a podcast where we watch through every single movie in popular film franchises, one each week, to try and track how the storytelling changes over time. Today we are concluding our miniseries, What is All This Scream Time Doing to Our Children?, covering every film in the Scream series. We will fully spoil today's film, but we will not spoil any future entries in the series because there are currently none. Wade? How are you doing today?
I'm good. Emmett, how are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm doing especially well because today we are honored to have a special guest. He's a great actor, a true horror movie aficionado, but perhaps best known to our audience for maybe being the biggest Scream fan in the world. Please welcome Jonathan Thor Rains.
Woo!
Hello, everyone. Hello. It is I. All those things are true. It's true.
Thanks for being here, Thor.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Now, Thor, what is your previous experience with the Scream movie series and particularly Scream 4?
The first movie came out when I would have been 6, and my mother took us, my brother and I, to go see the movie.
No kidding.
She did, and we sat in the front row.
Oh my God.
The line at the beginning of the movie when Drew Barrymore's on the phone and he says, "I want to know who I'm looking at," freaked me out. And I was like, "Mom, can I please sit with you?" So I sat with her through the rest of the movie. But then, you'll get a kick out of this, it came out like to buy, and she made us memorize the first scene of the movie.
What?
She did. So I was Drew, and my brother was older, so he played the killer. And whenever people would come over to the house, like guests, she would make us perform it for them.
Oh my God.
And I still know it. When she goes outside, we would like, "Okay, everybody, intermission." So we'd make them go outside and get like set up. And then we're like, "Okay, everyone gets to go." And then I would like sneak out the door and he's still like on the phone. And then he kills me. And then we became the parents. So I was the mom and he was the dad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. They didn't come over very often. So
yeah, that's a really good way to keep people from ever coming back to your house.
Yes, I think that's why they're kind of misanthropic now. Anyways, yeah, and we just grew up really liking the series. We would go see all of them together. And actually, part 4 came out on my mom's birthday in 2011. Mm-hmm. I got told I was tacky for taking her to see that for her birthday. But you know what? Screw that.
Wait, if she loves it.
She loved it. We had a good time. So that's personal connection with the entire franchise, but particularly the 4th one. We went and saw that for my mom's birthday. It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
I think it's really sweet to hear, like you say, it's like got such a strong family connection for you because this is a movie series about families. It's a lot about moms and older brothers throughout this franchise. So I think that's really cool connection to have with it and to have it from such a young age.
Yeah, we grew up watching scary movies just in general. That's what my mom liked. So that's what I was raised on.
But is Scream like the top for you, or how does it relate to the other horror movies you grew up with?
Yeah, Scream's definitely my favorite. My mom's favorite's Halloween, so that's like her franchise. And then my brother really likes I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's his favorite.
Okay.
We all kind of have our own thing out of those.
Have you seen the new Halloween?
I actually saw it for the
Halloween Kills.
6th time last night.
Okay, so it's good?
The first time I watched it, I was very on the fence about it. And then the more I watched it and read things about it and like what they were going for, I started to appreciate it a lot more and what it had to say. There's a lot of subtext and stuff in it. And I like it and I'm excited for the next one. I actually had an audition for that movie.
Whoa.
Didn't get it.
For the second one or for...
Well, they were originally going to film them back-to-back, Kills and Ends, and they were casting them back-to-back. So I don't know if I technically auditioned for which one, but then they delayed the filming of Ends because of COVID, so now it hasn't been filmed yet. They're starting filming in January, I think.
Okay.
So who knows? Maybe I will get a call. You never know.
I hope so.
We'll see.
That'd be dope.
I think I'm going to watch Kills tonight. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude, you should.
I've been excited to.
I think you'll like it. It's good.
Cool.
Well, Wade, this was the first time you had seen this movie, right?
Yes. And what was really kind of fun about it was that we watched the first one like a long time ago, but I'd only seen the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then for this podcast, we watched the first 3 which came out like 3 movies in 4 years. We watched those like all in a week, basically. And it has been like more than a month since then.
Yeah.
And now I've got to go and watch 4, which felt really fun because this one came out 11 years after the last one. So there's like a big gap in between, and it felt like a big gap. So that was really fun. And also, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I was like very surprised by a lot of things in this movie. And I've been really looking forward to the Scream coming out next year, which I think we'll talk a little bit about at the end of the episode. And like a lot of my ideas of what might happen in that had already happened in this movie when I watched it. So that was interesting. But it was cool to get to revisit it. What about you, Emmett? Had you seen this one before?
I had not, and I had a truly wild experience watching it last night, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
Or we can get into it now. I don't know. No, I'm just going to tell y'all, this is what happened. So I have just, well, to put it bluntly, I wasn't funny enough for clown school, and so I've come back across the country in a blaze of glory. In 5 days, I've done something like 3,000 miles. I'm back in Chapel Hill. And last night, after getting into Chapel Hill at like 6 p.m., my friends were like going out to a Halloween party. And I was not interested in doing that. So I decided to stay alone in the house with all the doors locked and all the lights on, watching Scream 4. And at like 2 a.m, when they called me and said, somebody's trying to come back in to get their ID, go unlock the door, I was like,
Wow. Did that enhance the experience, would you say?
Absolutely. I would say this one, more than any of the others, I was personally terrified for my own life, but it had nothing, like very little to do with the actual images on the screen that were frightening to me, and more just like the overall idea and like how meta is it to get like murdered in a house while you're watching Scream? Like that would happen in a Scream movie. Obviously it does happen in, I mean, that's like kind of how this movie opens. So I was like,
I was not really prepared for how hardcore this one was going to be, especially after the last one. Like, this one is full on.
Yeah, it's messed up.
I'd say the third one, I feel like there's a lot of like gunplay and like hand to hand, like more like combat kind of stuff in that one. And then in the fourth one, I don't know, they go for it a lot more when it comes to the blood, especially. So I feel like they're usually kind of like classy, I say in quotation marks. And then the fourth one, it went a lot more like hardcore with the kills. And I mean, even like, I laugh when he says it, but when he's on the phone with Sydney and he's like, I'm going to slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face. I'm like, oh my God, like, bro, chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do go a lot farther with this one, which I like. I thought it was good.
That stuff is there a little bit in the first one, like the ghost face descriptions of the kills, but really not in 2 and 3. And then it's like a couple of times you get it here in 4. Thor, as someone who watches a lot of horror movies, do you still get scared, or is that like not really how it affects you?
Not really. It really depends on a particular like scene or something in a movie. I wouldn't say any particularly like movie itself scares me, but certain parts of movies would. The part like in the first one when he says, I want to know who I'm looking at, that is just chilling, just in general. I think in the fourth one, the part like which closet is he in? Like when I first saw that scene, like at the movies, that part was scary to me. I mean, you could kind of guess eventually that he's in like Olivia's closet and not theirs. Even so, that was just scary to know. Like he's literally just like standing there, and she didn't even know like when she was in her house when she first got there. So it kind of just depends on the sequence or something of the movie rather than the movie itself. But I don't particularly get like scared.
Yeah, I feel like I've watched a lot more horror the last few years, and I kind of feel like the more I watch, like the less I really get scared of them.
Yeah.
But I also think it's like personal taste. Like things do still freak me out sometimes, but it's not as much this.
Well, we grew up a lot on like slasher type movies. So I mean like Friday the 13th Part 8 when Jason goes to New York City. That movie is not scary. So like that's what we watched a lot growing up. So that kind of definitely like desensitized me to some of those things. But like true, like like The Witch, like stuff like that. Like
Oh.
that movie was freaky.
Yeah.
So slasher type movies aren't necessarily scary unless like a jump scare or something, but those movies don't necessarily stay with me as much as something like The Witch or like The Conjuring, or some like elements of those movies are more long lasting, I guess, than say like Scream 4.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there are also, this is maybe kind of closer to like thrill ride horror movies, or like A Quiet Place or Ready or Not are ones that I
Love
like
that movie.
that aren't like scary, but it's basically like you're in like a tense scene, like a tense chase for an hour and a half, and then it's over.
Yes,
you know, I really like that, but that doesn't stick with me. Like I'm not scared of it after.
Yeah.
It's just really exciting while you're watching it.
Yes, they definitely have really high like entertainment value, more just like stressful sequences, and like the thrill of that is very entertaining and fun to be a part of. But I wouldn't necessarily like say it scares me like to the core or anything, but I like chase scenes, obviously, especially like in a movie like this. Like those are all like really well constructed ones are really fun.
I feel like this movie was kind of like the Force Awakens of the Scream franchise, if that makes sense. It's like very much like the original. I feel like there's sequences that are directly just like reconstructions of sequences from the original in like really cool remixed ways that makes it feel more metal, but somehow like lacking whatever it was that made the original magical. And the way that the original is both horrifying and hilarious pretty much consistently throughout.
Well, like how the first one was just in general parodying horror films, and then the second one's sequels, third one's trilogies, and this one's more like, I hate the word reboot, but like reboot, remake, whatever. And I feel like there are moments of it that maybe harp on that a little bit too much, to where it kind of like circles back around to where it's parodying itself almost. I get that that's like the focus of the movie, but I do like the homages and like winks to the original.
Yeah, I like that the original, like the climax times out with them watching the end of Halloween, and then this one times out with them watching the original Stab, which is basically the original Scream, but as close to that as they can get.
So like when the first three came out, they made this like special collector's edition box set or whatever, and it came with an extra disc of special features, and it was fake movie trailers for those movies from Scream 3.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool. And it had one for Stab 1, there was one for Stab 2 and Stab 3. So they had all these like random actors come together and like actually film footage and make trailers for these movies. It's so cool.
That's
so
amazing.
funny.
Yeah.
I'm sure those have got to be on YouTube somewhere now, right? Like,
oh, I'm sure.
Sunrise
Studios. Yeah. Probably type that in and look for like fake movie trailers or something. And it has the ones that they mention in the third movie. It's cool.
And it was that you receiving a ghost-faced phone call in the middle of this
probably was.
Oh, God.
It sounds like that landline dial tone.
You planned that. You planned it just for this episode. Admit it.
Oh, I do like... you're right. I do like scary movies. Oh, right now? Yeah. Sorry, got derailed.
I was saying, too, like, both of the points you guys were making about the remake and the reboot and everything, I thought it was really interesting that this movie does feel like a Force Awakens or like one of these more recent legacy sequels, like Candyman or Halloween, where it's like really about the first film, directly following that rather than some of the sequels. But like, that's what it feels like. But the thing they are actually parodying is like all of the remakes in the late 2000s that she lists at the end in a really funny scene. Maybe not even funny. I just thought it was impressive. That moment where she's like Nightmare on Elm Street. She lists all of them. Like that's what they're making fun of in this movie.
I always try to see like if she missed one, and I can never think of any that she missed. I'm like, good job, Kirby.
God, Kirby.
Love her.
Yeah, she's so good.
Definitely trying to be the Randy of the 2010s. I think that's what I guess they're going for with her character.
This is my suspicion, is that she didn't die and that we're seeing her again.
You think she's still alive?
Yeah, I think she's still alive and we're seeing her in Scream 5. That is my guess.
Okay.
We've seen people like Dewey take similar levels of stabbage and survive. That's what I'm holding out for.
That's fair.
Sydney in this movie gets stabbed in the stomach twice.
Yeah.
It is okay.
She does.
And so
She gets stabbed in the stomach twice and then kicked in the stab wound several
oh,
times in
that
the
part is
hospital
brutal.
scene. That's
Where she's like,
messed up.
how are those stitches? And
I
then
hate
punches her.
God, I hate her.
God.
Jill sucks. She's so annoying.
She's like an unstoppable force in the last 30 minutes of this movie. Like the insane lengths she
When
goes
she
to.
charges the glass photo or whatever and just breaks her face on it.
Oh, that's messed up.
Ridiculous.
Oh my
When
God.
I go back and rewatch it, obviously knowing how it ends, and I start noticing things, and I'm like, I should have picked up on that sooner. Like when they're all in class and they get the text that those first two girls were killed in the garage, she's the only one that doesn't get the text message. And I was like, whoa, yeah, she's the only one that doesn't look at her phone. And Kirby's like, whoa, they were murdered. And she turns around, she's like, what? I'm like, girl, you faking. I hate you. She's so obnoxious.
Oh, and when she's like fake doing the voice on the call with the girl across the
Yeah,
street.
like she can't do the voice. I hate. She's so stupid.
It is wild to me that they, like, the entire young cast of this movie gets killed.
They just get massacred, bro. They just kill all of them.
This has to be the highest body count of any of them, right? Like, everyone dies, pretty much.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty certain. Because they introduce a lot of characters. I mean, kill them all off. I mean, if you count all the kills from the opening of the movie, too, even though they're, like, movies, then yeah.
Yeah.
I love all the random celebrities at the beginning of the movie. I think that's so fun.
I like how it feels like they're they're telescoping up eras until you get to and you're like, oh, I know that we're finally in like the real movie world because this looks like 2011, and like the other one, it's like this looks like 2007, and then the other one looks like 2001 or something.
Like those people now, like I don't even remember most of their names, but I know that they were like popular in 2011 because they were on like CW shows and that sort of thing. So I like how they always incorporate like people who are very specific to that time frame. I think that's really cool. And especially, I mean, like in the 90s, like Courtney Cox had just got on Friends, and they use her and like Drew Barrymore and all that stuff. So I think it's always cool they use like cameos of people who were popular at that time that you wouldn't expect to see in a horror movie like that.
Yeah, and there's that little meta moment where Allison Brie tells Courtney Cox, like, you were my 90s in this one. And then the weird moment where she talks about like the real life romance between her and Dewey, or maybe Courtney and David.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, their relationship like has been the movies because they met in the first one. I think they were engaged or something in the second one. They got married in the third one, which he proposed to her in the third one. And then I think they divorced shortly after the fourth one came out, and they were having like marriage troubles in the fourth one too. So it's super interesting how that is like written into the movie, but also like they live it out too. So I'm curious what their relationship will be like in the fifth one.
I'm really worried they're not going to be together in the fifth one, just from what I've seen in the trailer.
Yeah, because he's in a trailer by himself, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look promising.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him sad and broken up.
I know.
Poor Dewey.
I think you're going to have to start preparing to say goodbye to Dewey. I don't think he's going to make it in the fifth one.
That's what the YouTube comments have been theorizing.
I know. They got it. One of the original three, I think. They're going to have to get it.
I think they kill off both Dewey and
Don't say it. Don't say it. No.
I do. I think they do a double. I
love Gale.
I don't think Sydney is killable.
No, I don't think they would do that. I think that would be stupid. She is the movie. Come on. And like, why after 25 years? Like, there's just no need, really. You know what? I think Randy's sister is in part 5.
Oh,
that's a good theory.
I think she's one of the killers or something, because 2 of the kids in the trailer, their last name is Meeks-Martin, so they have to be her children or something.
Wow.
Oh no, we'll see. That's Scream 5. So back to Scream 4. Sorry.
Okay, wait. Would you please give us the very brief stats on Scream 4?
Yeah, Scream 4, it's pretty much the crew from the old ones all back together on this one, which is great. Directed by Wes Craven, the last film he directed before he died in 2015. Written by Kevin Williamson, who's back after not writing 3.
And you can tell.
You can tell.
You can tell.
You can definitely tell. When it started off with like the meta stuff about like the Saw movies, I was like, oh yeah, he's back.
Yeah. Welcome back. I'm very glad he was back for the fourth one.
And music by Marco Beltrami, who did all 4. I wonder if I don't know if he's doing 5, because I know obviously Wes Craven isn't coming back, but he's the one who could tie it, I think.
Yeah, I love his music. His scores are always so good.
Running 1 hour, 51 minutes, released April 15th, 2011 by Dimension Films. Budget of $40 million, which is the same as 3, and a box office of 96. So it did good, but it is the smallest box office in the franchise, which I think is probably why they didn't rush to get another trilogy or another Scream 5 out then. But yeah, that's what I got. Emmett, how would you describe the plot of this movie to anyone who hadn't watched it?
The plot of this movie is that many years after the original Scream killings,
15 years.
15 years after, Sydney has released a book on getting over fear. It's like a self-help book, and she's kind of famous for that now.
Sydney is part of the theater major to self-help book writer pipeline.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then her young cousin is there. Is that Emma Roberts?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Friends of hers start dying in similar ways to people from the original Scream movie. And she's like, oh my God, it's happening again. Sydney is trying to be there and like protect her. As her aunt or
her cousin,
and is like there trying to make sure that the same horrible things that happened to Sydney don't happen to this girl. Of course, it ends up that they pretty much all do. All of the friends are there. She's got creepy boyfriend who keeps coming around, who we don't like. He just like keeps coming into people's houses without knocking. Very sus.
Oh, is that Trevor?
Trevor
sucks.
Yeah.
Trevor sucks.
So
Trevor's
bad.
Lame. We hate Trevor.
Then there is Kirby. We love Kirby.
Pour one out for Corbin.
She's got a cool haircut. She's got a leather jacket.
She's edgy.
She's the edgy one. Then we've got Olivia. I don't know what she's like, supposedly the hot friend, but she's also like super smart. She's going to law school, but that doesn't really matter because she gets murked. And then there's another couple of film class geeks. There's one guy, and we should talk about this, who is streaming stuff, like streaming everything, his entire high school experience onto the internet, doing that. And he's like, in a couple of years, this is what everyone's going to be doing. And there's a lot of cool stuff with that camera later in like the climax where like he's wearing the camera and looking at the screens and like the killer is behind him. And, you know, like you see that. I thought that camera play was pretty cool. Or like when Courtney Cox is going around and putting up the little cameras in the place, and then they all get turned around and she sees like the killer is there. Yeah, so cool. And Dewey coming to rescue her, seeing the killer come up behind her. Very tense sequences with the frames within frames in this movie. Okay, we got all those people. There's the other film kid geek who does not make a very large impression. I feel like the long-haired kid.
Charlie.
I like both of the film geeks, but Charlie is the other Culkin brother.
Oh.
He's not Macaulay Culkin, and he's not Kieran Culkin.
He's Rory Culkin.
Rory Culkin, who did this movie, and I'm not sure what else, but
Damn.
yeah.
Yep, that's him.
But I thought both of them were pretty good, to be honest.
Anyway, a bunch of people get killed. Oh, including the publicist or the like agent for Sydney's book. Sydney somehow brings Gail and Dewey back into it because it's all happening in Woodsboro. Once again, the tension between Dewey and Sydney. You know that one scene that I'm talking about?
When they're he's like in the living room with her and they're talking about the book.
Yeah. There's more chemistry in that scene than there is in the rest of this movie.
We all ship it. We want it to happen.
I'm very glad I wasn't the only one who noticed that. Because I was like, am I reaching? But like, it's like that thing in 2 again, where they see each other and there's like so much more chemistry than there is between anyone else ever in these movies.
Yeah, there's something really wonderful there. There's something, I hope that they mine that further in Scream 5 because...
Before he dies.
Before he dies, yes. Like really, really gut-wrenching. And then it looks like it's all going to come to a climax at a big barn party where they're doing a marathon of all of the Stab movies. There are now 7 Stab movies, so that's kind of a joke about just like series that run on and on and on. Wade and I know something about those kinds of series already. And then it doesn't. It instead ends at the after party. Just a few people in the house for a tense chase sequence, like pick them off one by one sort of scenario, where it is finally revealed that the killers are young Rory Culkin and Emma Roberts, who decided they want to be famous from having messed up lives. Then Emma Roberts betrays Rory Culkin, kills his ass too, because of course she does. She sucks.
She really does.
And then she tries to kill Sydney. They're taken to the hospital. This part is even wilder. Like, you think it's going to end at the house. It doesn't. They go to the hospital. Sydney looks like she's going to survive. Jill's like, not on my watch, she's not. And she like hobbles down the hall to go like finish Sydney off. And then Sydney, of course, murks her ass, because that's what Sydney does. Like, it's not possible. Look, if that goofus Stu and Mrs. Loomis couldn't do it, if her own older brother couldn't do it, how you think your weak ass little cousin is gonna come up in here and kill you, punch you in your stitches? Nah, she's dead now.
And then try to kill Dewey with a bedpan.
That was really rude.
Yeah.
That was uncalled for.
And then that stupid... she's fine, but that deputy, Judy Hicks or whatever...
Judy Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And she comes, like, barreling in there, and then I was like, I thought she got shot in the head. And then she stands up.
I also did.
Yeah, and then she's like, wear the vest, protect your chest. And I'm like, okay, that was kind of dumb. But she's going to be in part 5, though, so good for her. I'm glad she has another film to be in.
Apparently, when they were filming that, the thing about her having been in Sydney's class and like sat next to her is a thing that they were originally going to have from the 3rd movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That one of the killers was going to be a girl that had sat next to Sydney in class. And like the whole arc of the trilogy was that the first victim sat next to Sydney on one side and the last killer sat next to her on the other side. And so that was one of the things that was in like one of the leaked screenplays. And so when in number 4, she says, I sat next to you in class, everybody who knew about the leaked screenplays immediately thought that the cop lady was going to be like, had to be one of the killers for Scream 4.
Interesting. I did not know that.
They do make her very creepy in that one.
They totally do.
Oh yeah, I was like, shoot her right now. Like, she's insane. Also, out of all of them, the 3rd one seems like the most likely one to have 2 killers. And then it's like, no, just the one. I'm like, what?
That's the only one with one.
And then in the 4th one, I'm glad they brought back the 2 killer thing, because I like that idea. I think that's cool. Because you can usually guess one, and then the other one ends up being a surprise. But honestly, in the 4th one, I was pretty surprised by both of them, especially Charlie's reveal when he stabs Kirby after she rescued him. I thought that was really interesting. I liked how they revealed that one. And then, yeah, freaking Jill, dude. Freaking stabbing Sydney, and then she's like, oh, dear cousin. And I was like, shut up, Emma Roberts. You suck. She plays the same character in every movie. I just want to point that out. Yeah, I liked the reveal of those 2, and I thought that was a cool twist that ended up being a family member. Even though her motive is kind of trash.
Her motive was social media.
I think there's some of the social media stuff has like aged really well in that it's like maybe even more relevant now, or at least a few years ago than it was in 2011.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of it is very silly now, but like that sort of like the influencer speech about like, what am I going to do? Go to school and work? Like, I need to get famous right now. And especially the streaming stuff, because I feel like nobody was actually live streaming like that in 2011, and now that's like such a thing. So,
and like this is pretty awful, but like there have been real like mass shootings that were live streamed where that was like part of the intention of it, which is And I'm pretty sure that was since this, not before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So very prescient about
Yeah.
a lot of the way social media affects everything,
Mm-hmm.
which was interesting. I love the dig at Facebook in here that it was already, they were saying it was already outdated 10 years ago.
At the beginning,
Wow.
she's a Facebook killer. She said, what is it? I think now it would be Twitter. That would make more sense or something like that. I guess now it would be Meta instead of Facebook, I guess is what it would be now since they changed the name.
This movie is more meta than Facebook. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was funny too. And it's Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Thor.
What's up?
This movie, Scream 4, flop or bop?
Dude, I'm going to say Bob, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the original one is always tops for me, and then like just under it is part 2, and then just under that one is part 4, and then kind of well below part 4 is part 3.
Fair. Wade, flop or bop?
A bop for me. I loved this movie. And it totally took me by surprise. I don't know. I just thought it was like so entertaining, so exciting, really so like brutal and violent. There were even parts where I was like, is this a little too much for Scream? But I guess maybe that's kind of the point of that they're making about like the reboot always being needing to go further than the original or whatever. Yeah, but I love this movie, and I think it's very close for 2 to 2 with me as well. I think 2 has the best sequences. But I don't love the story and characters of 2, and I think like the story and characters here are very compelling. So yeah, in that way I would say I think it's the best story since the first one.
Wow.
Emmett, what about you? Flop or bop?
I would say bop. It is, for me, it was like very entertaining, very exciting. It didn't quite have the same level of tension sequence in like quite the same way for me as the first 2. That we've like kind of talked about how like, you know, there's long house sequences. It is doing something else. I'm just not sure if I like that other thing as much. But yeah, I still think it's very good. One of the most exciting movies I've seen in a long time.
Do either of you I feel like we've all mentioned this in some capacity, that this movie like goes too far in some aspects. And not specifically about the violence, although maybe if we feel that, but just in like being the meta reboot.
I think there are some elements of it that are maybe scenes that try like maybe a little too hard. And I don't know if maybe that's a reaction to the third one, because the third one just feels like so different from the other ones, in my opinion. And so I don't know if they were like, let's just kind of, you know, correct the course. And it's not that they ignore 2 and 3, but they don't really mention specific incidents in the second and third one. And so I think they're, you know, trying to get back on track with how the original one was. And so I don't know, like even the part where, when he stabs Anthony Anderson in the head, the cop.
Oh, yeah.
That's
chilling, you know. I like when he's like swinging and in the background. I always thought this part was cool. Like Ghostface is standing there and his robe blends into the black, so you just see his mask. I always thought that was cool because it looks like it's floating there. But that whole scene just feels kind of out of place for Scream, in my opinion, because it veers a little too comedic. So that scene has always stuck out to me as like, it just doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the movie as far as the rest of it goes. So I don't know if that necessarily answers the question of going too far, but I definitely think there are some elements to it that stick out. Not necessarily like a sore thumb, but they just don't mesh quite as well with some of the other parts.
Well, I would also bring that up, that like same like getting stabbed in the head is like being a little much, but that was just like because of like just how graphic, like how awful that is. But yeah, I don't know. It does like feel like where is this in the overall arc of this story?
Man, I don't totally know what Sydney's arc is in this movie.
Yeah.
In terms of like what she has gained from this movie.
The part where I think he calls her after Gail gets attacked and he's like, oh, no, it's after Olivia gets attacked, which I will say that was pretty brutal when it shows the aftermath and there's like guts and stuff everywhere. I was like, that's excessive.
Yeah.
That's too much.
And he is on the phone with her and he says, like, you're not the star. All you can do is watch. And so that ended up really becoming her part in the action of the movie, was just to observe like what was going on. Because he kind of sidelines her. Ghostface like sidelines her until the finale because they're like picking off everybody else around her. Yeah, that kind of ended up being like what her role was in the movie, was just to kind of sit and experience what was happening around her. And I guess wondering if it was her fault since she came back to Woodsboro.
I also feel like this movie hints at maybe Sydney is responsible for it, but never quite leads the red herrings to be big enough that you actually believe it. And I wonder if it could be stronger if you did really question whether it could be her.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that moment with Dewey, just that brief moment where he's like, everyone's a suspect, like you understand how it is. With him and Judy.
Yeah.
Where it seems like they could do that, but I definitely thought it was going to be a body in her trunk when they open it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I think that would have been more interesting than, a knife with bloody posters on it.
Yeah, a knife stabbed through a book.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a lot more interesting had it been one of those girls from the beginning of the movie or something. They didn't find the other one's body and then they found her in the trunk of the car. I think that would have been very interesting and would have definitely been more of a reason to keep her in Woodsboro rather than oh, you had evidence in the trunk of your car. Well, it's more compelling to be you had a dead body in the back of your car.
What happened to McDreamy is what I would like to know.
Right?
He was there with Sydney eating popcorn at the end of the third one.
I know.
Yeah.
She has a wedding ring on in the trailer for part 5.
That's interesting.
So I'm curious if he has some connection to it or maybe he, I don't know, died in the line of duty or something and she keeps her wedding ring on. Who knows?
He could be back home in this one and
That's
we
true.
just don't know about it.
That's true.
No mention of him either way.
Wait, is there any behind the scenes drama on this we need to dig into?
I don't have very much on this one. I think it actually seems like maybe the most straightforward of the sequel productions.
Nice.
Which we know had a lot of drama in both of them. The main difference that I read was that the original first draft of the script, the Williamson script, ended at the house. So all of the hospital stuff wasn't in it.
Oh, wow.
And it ends with them taking Jill away and everyone's calling her a hero and taking pictures of her. And then someone yells and says, there's a woman who survived. And you don't know if it's Kirby or if it's Sydney. And it was supposed to be big cliffhanger leading into a Scream 5 where Jill is the big bad guy overarching the whole thing.
Interesting.
That's what I read. And then I read that all the hospital ending, but also everything that takes place at the Stabathon barn was added in reshoots or added in a rewrite during production. Because I know there were some rewrites while they were filming by Aaron Kruger, who wrote 3 and who was a producer on this. I think Williamson wrote obviously the final draft of the script and probably some other drafts, but then couldn't be there on set because of all his other TV stuff. So some of that stuff was in rewrites.
Do you know if Gale was originally supposed to die? I remember seeing a trailer for part 4 where at the end of the trailer it shows him raising his knife about to stab her and she says, go ahead if you have the guts, and he stabs towards her stomach and then it said Scream 4 and that was the end of the trailer. So I've always been curious if maybe they just filmed that to throw people off, but if maybe an original version of the movie, she died there or something, or was maybe more seriously injured or something. I don't know.
I heard an interview with Craven before he died where he said if they were going to do a 5, he would have killed one of the original 3 in it.
No.
Yeah, I don't really know what that is about. Not to do the J.K. Rowling thing of I should have done something different.
Right.
Also a J.K. Rowling reference in this movie, which maybe didn't age as well as the other stuff.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh, Jill also has a U2 poster up, which I thought was very weird for a teenager in 2011.
She also had an American Werewolf in London movie poster on the back of her door.
She's a straight up sociopath. You can't explain what she's just trying to fit in with the other cool kids, listening to what the other cool kids listen to.
She's an enigma.
Talking about the references, I love that they're watching Shaun of the Dead. As a big Edgar Wright guy. And I love when Stab comes up and it says, a film by Robert Rodriguez.
That is so funny. I love that. It's so
funny.
Gail's putting the cameras down, and when she flips the audience off behind her, it says, based on the book by Gail Weathers. I think that's so funny. She's also one of the original 3 survivors that has not put on the ghost face mask is Dewey. Because Gail put it on in part 4, and Sydney put it on in part 1. I found that interesting.
That's a good point. That is interesting. I think Dewey's pretty good in this. He's been maybe a little hit and miss in how they've written him over the sequels, but I think he is really good in this, and I like where they take his character. I feel like maybe Judy Hicks is supposed to take like some of the comedic burden away from him, so where he can be like a little more of a regular character. But I also don't know what they're doing with Judy Hicks. She's just like
strange. She's like ends up being like a caricature or something. Like the whole thing about her lemon squares, the whole interaction she has with Gail when Gail wants to go into the interrogation room. I'm like, this is just odd. I don't like
pays
her.
Off.
No. And then she survived. And I was like, why? Just get rid of her.
Damn.
But she's in part 5, so at least, you know, the 5th one's acknowledging the events of part 4 because she's in the 5th one. But I don't know.
All right. Now we are moving into the parts of the podcast where we talk about the best kill in the movie. Thor, I'll start with you.
The best one as far as like carnage goes is definitely Olivia's when he comes out of the closet. I would say the one that has the most impact is probably Kirby's, if she's dead. That one was probably the most surprising to me because I definitely thought she was going to get out of there. I guess Olivia tied with Kirby.
Wait?
Yeah, I think the like string of them at the house at the end, like when everyone starts dying. I like the opening, like before you find out it's a stab thing. I thought that was actually like genuinely very well done. Yeah, so I would either say the opening or the ant, which like actually got me when he stabs her through the door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was sad.
I also thought maybe it was her. Because she has like one line in this movie and it's being like, no one knows about my pain.
And then you see her getting groceries and then she dies.
Damn. That's the mom from Donnie Darko.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
She looked really familiar.
Yeah.
I should have known. Emmett, what is your best kill?
Well, I like all the like the lead up to. You don't actually see it, but you get the lead up to, and then like the aftermath of like the film guy who's streaming everything. I think that whole sequence of him out on the porch and him like having the camera flipped around to behind him, and you think it's going to come up at him out of the woods, and then he comes and he's right in front of him. It's just very cool. And then he like spills out covered in blood later and falls down on the porch, which is always a fun one too. But also just a shout out to the sequence of Emma Roberts beating herself up Edward Norton style.
That part is insane.
It just kicks. It's so,
I
was like, this is one of the most violent sequences of the whole movie, and it's one person against herself.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
She like places the knife on the wall and jumps into it.
Yeah. Gnarly.
And just when you know this will suffice, Jill, she's like, no, I will slam myself into a glass table and risk death.
Yeah, that part's crazy. You could tell someone really did that. Obviously not Emma Roberts, but they've shot that from underneath. You can tell someone really jumped into that table.
Yes. Yeah. And then she tries to go and lay beside Sydney and pose like her. I was like, you're not worthy. Get out of here.
Who would you say your MVP OTP is, Thor, your most valuable player other than the protagonist? Who, I don't really even know if we have a good idea of who the protagonist is. So the only person I'm taking off the table here is Sydney. And anyone else is up for grabs.
I would take out the original 3, I feel like.
The original 3?
Because they're kind of in all of these as the third line.
All right, okay.
Yeah, definitely Kirby. You gotta go with Kirby. She's the one who has a sense of what's going on, knows essentially like what the rules are and stuff. She's likable. She's funny.
A lot of the movie, it feels like her movie. It almost feels like she's the protagonist.
Yeah.
And Emma Roberts is the side character.
Yes.
Which feels weird, but makes sense, I guess, at the end.
Yeah, they give her a lot of screen time, and it's like, that was just weird to me that, well, you know, maybe it was supposed to be left ambiguous or whatever, but like that they would basically leave her for dead, even though they spent so much time building her character up and making you like her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kirby, that's what I'd say.
Wade?
Well, Kirby was mine as well, so I'll pick someone else now. But I think she is great. Her hairstyle is so cool. And I think the reason why it feels like her movie is because Hayden Panettiere, I don't know how to say her last name, but I think that's it, just has like star energy.
Mm-hmm.
That, no offense to Emma Roberts or to the rest of this young cast who all do a good job, but she just like feels like movie star in a big movie star role.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In a way that the rest of them don't. Yeah, and so charming. Like, she's awesome. Okay, I would give it then to Eric Knudsen as Robbie Mercer, the kid who's always streaming.
Mhm.
Okay.
I liked both of the Cinema Club guys, but I feel like he has a really sort of like understated performance that ends up working pretty well in the end. I like the moment where he's like, not to implicate myself, after he explains the rules of it. His final moments are all pretty gnarly, and I think he like toes the funny, scary edge of this series really well. He's also in Scott Pilgrim, right, the year before this, which
He is
is another reason. Yeah, he's Crash. He's in one of the other bands. Crash.
Oh, cool.
Just for like 1 minute. But
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Emmett, who's your MVP?
Well, see, you've just taken some good ones. Most of the good ones.
The only
in
good
fact.
ones besides
The
the
only
first
good
actors.
ones. Honestly, I would say a double MVP to Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell.
Yes.
That's so fun.
In the opening sequence.
Mm-hmm.
That scene is really good. And really just like well shot and intense and cool. Good for them for being in like a very meta little intro bit to this. You have in our notes here the trailer talk for Scream 2022. This is going to be Scream 5, and it's just called Scream.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've talked a little bit about it, but just like, what do we think of what it looks like, and where do we want to see the series go from here? It's not being directed by Wes Craven, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's by the two men who directed Ready or Not, which I did really like.
Mm-hmm.
And it has different writers, too. It's not them, and it's not Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
Although Williamson is producing. We should also mention there's a TV show that happened in between this. It isn't in like the canon of the movie series.
And it doesn't star Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, or
No.
Cat.
And doesn't even have Roger Jackson as the voice of Ghostface.
Huh.
Yeah. I think, what is it? Mike Vaughn, I think is the guy's name that does the voice.
Okay. Have you seen the show, Thor?
I have seen the first 2 seasons. I liked it. Especially the first season was really good. It kind of, I don't remember how many episodes it was. I think maybe 10 in each season. But each episode kind of modeled itself after like, there was like one big kill every episode. And they started like offing like main characters very quickly and very brutally. I really enjoyed the first season. The mask is like an homage to the original mask. It doesn't like look quite the same. But they throw it back to like a long lost sibling kind of narrative. And there's like a mystery to what happened in the town and et cetera, et cetera. Second season was pretty good. It picks up after that one. There was like a connecting Halloween special between 1 and 2. That was like a movie almost, like a little 2-hour thing. That was really good. And then they greenlit season 3, but then they did away with everything 1 through 2. So they didn't invite any of those actors back, and they just rebooted the entire season or series and made a completely different show with different characters. Made no sense.
So weird.
And they go back to using the original mask, and it was awful. I only watched the first episode, and I was like, this is just terrible. I read about like how it wrapped up, and it just sounded trash.
Damn.
But I would watch the first 2 seasons. I think it's on Netflix if you guys have that. I think you can stream it on there. It's pretty good, though. It's very MTV. I even think sometimes when there was a song playing in the background, it would pop up in the bottom corner, like what the song was and how you could download it and blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. But the show itself was pretty good. The opening of episode 1 is excellent. It very much tries to be like an updated version of the Drew Barrymore sequence, and it involves Bella Thorne. That scene was really, really good. That one was cool. Yeah, I liked it, though. It was pretty good.
Well, how about the new one? I'll ask you, Emmett, how's it looking from the trailer? What do you want to see happen in this next one?
I mean, this one looks even more brutal, if anything, than 4. Like, it's going to be even nastier and more violent, more hardcore. What I would be really interested in is seeing all of the original cast die. I would be interested in it being Sydney as the killer, or maybe all 3 of them, or some combination thereof. That they're taking it out on a new generation, and that all of them are dead by the end. I think that is like where I would like this to go, where it feels like it could go. Otherwise, I don't really know like why they would be doing another one, honestly.
I feel like you could kind of say that about 4, though.
Yes.
Because there is like a whole young high school cast, but then it isn't really about them.
Yeah.
Like, it's really about our main characters. I'm glad that the three are back and that they're not sort of like neglecting everything that's happened to them. Because I don't think Scream is like Halloween or some of these other ones where there's like crazy timelines. Like, it is really one story about these three people.
Yeah.
And now I guess also Judy Hicks. So
Sweet Judy.
I would like to see a Dewey Gale Weathers kid be one of the characters in the next one. I don't know if the timing may have worked out, since it certainly doesn't seem like they have one here. So I don't know if they could be as part of the high school cast, but I would just like to see some cool family connections, which are hard to do in this series since most of the characters die when they're 17.
Yeah.
But some sort of legacy family connection to the last movies I would like to see.
I know that Judy has a son in this one.
Okay.
I believe that all of the main characters who are all of the young cast characters, the victims are all relatives of the killers from previous movies.
I think the first one, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how, though, because I don't know, like if one of them's like, I'm Billy's sister, and I'm like, but Sydney would know that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess.
Also, this is 25 years after the first one. So
Yeah.
it'd have to be like a niece of
their niece.
Billy or Stu or something like that.
I'm telling you, it's going to be Martha Meeks, guys.
Yeah, I could see it. Because that's another weird thing they introduce and then never do anything.
And then she just walks away. I would love for the fifth one, like maybe at the end of the movie, Sydney gets stabbed or something. And then you hear cut, and then it's revealed the whole thing has been a movie within a movie. Super meta.
It's all Stab 9? Or like even, okay.
Or it's just, or they were like filming a movie called Scream, and then like within Scream they're making movies called Stab. Or at the start of the movie it opens and Drew Barrymore answers the phone, and it's revealed that they have all just been playing characters, and then in Scream 5 they're actually playing themselves. Like Nev Campbell is playing Nev Campbell, not Sidney Prescott. And someone watched all of these movies and they're now obsessed with them, and they're coming for the actual actors playing the characters.
Oh, whoa. That would be cool. Isn't that the premise behind the new Nightmare?
Yes, which Wes Craven made.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's like the best one of them, apart from the first one. I love New Nightmare. I think it's so cool. I would be very interested in seeing that, because I think you could part with Nev Campbell playing Nev Campbell rather than Sidney Prescott, because we had this character for so long, and then if it's like, she's playing herself, just an actress, I think that'd be like, I don't know, I'd be very interested in seeing that, and I think it would fit with the meta aspect of the whole series.
Yeah, I do want to see some sort of tribute or like real connection to the Wes Craven of it all.
Yeah,
especially since he's the only one who's ever made one so far.
Yeah,
and this one is really well directed. As a final film, this is really holds up.
Yes, I'm glad they made another one after part 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Felt like there was some weird like coloring or lighting in this one for some reason.
Yes, I've noticed that too.
I don't really know what was up with that, but especially when they were sort of like outdoors or
I noticed that
around
with the cars,
natural lights.
for sure.
It looked really weird.
Any final thoughts? Any other final thoughts on the movie before we play a little quiz?
I think it's the most underrated probably out of the franchise thus far. I feel like it gets kind of swept under the rug when people talk about the movies a lot. And I think it deserves to be revisited, and I think it will be a lot now leading into the fifth one.
Yeah, I do think it's really good and shouldn't be ignored.
Yeah, I think this is very exciting. I've loved watching this whole series. Having the experience I did with it last night was truly the best way to round out this movie series. Getting to watch it while terrified alone in the house. Very good. So now we will turn to our quiz. Today's quiz comes to us from Jamie Jurek at BuzzFeed. The quiz is... This quiz will help you decide what horror movies to watch next. So I thought we would all take it and see what horror movies each of us needs to watch next after having concluded the Scream series. Are you ready? Do you have it pulled up?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So the first question, we have pick your horror preference: teens, torture, meta, ghosts, slasher, or supernatural.
Gotta go with slasher.
I'm torn between a bunch. Ghosts and supernatural are also kind of the same thing.
I feel like Supernatural is going to have like aliens and vampires and stuff.
Okay, maybe that's not. I'm going to go with teens for this one.
I'm going to go with Supernatural. Pick a non-horror franchise. We got Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, or Twilight.
I'm so curious what will happen if I pick Twilight. But I'm going to go with Star Wars.
I think I am too, although Jurassic Park is the most like a horror movie out of all of these. Like, Jurassic Park has those horror action sequences. But I'm going to pick Star Wars as well.
I'm picking Jurassic Park, so we're going to find out. Pick a weapon. Knife, needle, bare hands, fire, axe, your mind.
Like Carrie?
Perhaps.
Or the underrated Tina Shepard from Friday the 13th Part 7?
Wow.
I wouldn't know anything about it, but I'd love to.
Guys, you should watch those. She has telekinesis and she battles Jason, and it's so funny.
That's awesome. Is that part 7?
Yes.
Okay, what are you picking for your weapon?
I'm going to go with your mind. I have to.
Wade?
Yeah, I guess if I could use your mind, that would probably be the most powerful. I'm going to go with axe.
I'm going to go with knife. Pick a horror show. The Walking Dead, Stranger Things, The Haunting of Bly Manor, American Horror Story, Castle Rock, Lovecraft Country.
American Horror Story.
I guess I'm going to go Stranger Things, which is my favorite. Although I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror show.
I've only seen Stranger Things and American Horror Story, and I'm going to go with American Horror Story because it seems more like horror to me. Pick a classic monster.
Ooh.
Dracula, The Wolfman, Mummy, Frankenstein's Monster, Bride of Frankenstein's Monster, or The Invisible Man.
I'm going to do Wolfman. I love werewolves.
I'm going to go with my old fave, The Invisible Man.
I think the creepiest of all of these is The Mummy, so I'm going to go with The Mummy. Pick a year. 1978, 1980, 1984, 1996, 2004, or 2013.
I got to do 96. I mean, that's when Scream came out.
I'm going to do 2013.
I'm going to do 1978 on the thought that those old 70s horror movies are messed up.
Dude, that's when Halloween came out.
Finally, pick a one-off horror movie. The Cabin in the Woods, It Follows, Get Out, Oculus, The Witch, or Hereditary.
I'm going to go with Oculus. I like that movie a lot.
I haven't even heard of it.
Never seen it.
It's about a haunted mirror, and it can like make you see things that like aren't there and alters the reality that you're in. It's really cool.
Damn.
I'm going to go with my favorite movie of all time, It Follows.
Dude, yes, I love that movie.
Which I love so much. I hope maybe if David Robert Mitchell ever makes another movie, we can do him on the pod one day, because I don't know how else. It is a one-off, as they say here, but I love that movie so much.
I'm going to go with The Witch.
Yes.
Just a truly horrifying film. Okay, so would you like to read your results?
I got Halloween.
I got Friday the 13th.
Yes.
I also got Halloween.
Hey.
Wow.
Apparently there's 11 potential film options for you to binge in this horror franchise. And the horror franchise that started it all, apparently. There's two Rob Zombie versions.
Don't watch those. Please don't.
Oh, really?
As your friend, I must tell you, just don't.
Good to know.
Especially his version of Halloween 2. It's the worst movie I think I've ever seen.
Wow. Well, Thor, is there anywhere where people could like find your online voice, your thoughts, your feelings, any projects you might be working on?
Yeah, I post a lot of that and share it on Instagram. So at Jonathan Thor Reigns. I'll be sharing photos of my Halloween costume later if you'd like to see it. I'm doing a mashup of Qui-Gon Jinn and Pinhead from Hellraiser, and he's going to be Qui-Gon Pin.
Oh my god. That is so good. Oh.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see it.
After a very brief 3-minute Google search, I realized no one's done this before. Hold on. I'll send y'all a picture of the makeup thus far. I just texted it to you.
Oh my god.
It's for a costume contest, so I hope I win.
That's so cool.
Oh my god, it looks so good. That's wild.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was an awesome way to close out the series so far. Up next, on Friday, we're going to have our Scream finale and ranking episode. And that's when we will also be announcing our next series. And in 37 weeks, please join us when we discuss Jordan Peele's Nope. Until then, dear listener, stay freaky, stay scared, stay frosted. Cinema Bums is a production of DKG Podcasts. It is created and produced by Wade Lawrence Holloman and me, Emmett Temple. Wade also edits and mixes the podcast. Our theme music is by Zane Holloman, who you can find on Bandcamp, and our show art is by Autumn Beckner. Our social media is managed by Laura Bennett. If you like what you hear, please tell all your friends and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, the 2 best ways to spread the word about our work. You can also follow us on Instagram at CinemaBums or email us at cinemabumspod@gmail.com. Don't flake on us. We'll be back next week.